From 1988 to 2002, a series of horrific serial murders terrorized Bayan City in China's Gansu province. The case claimed 9 female victims, all brutally murdered. The perpetrator, Gao Chenyang, remained at large for 28 years until his arrest in 2016. His capture shocked the entire nation, and Western media dubbed him China's Jack the Ripper. The first victim was 23-year-old Miss Bai, who worked at the Bain Corporation. On May 26, 1988, she was found in her home in a horrifically mutilated state. She had been stripped naked, decapitated, and stabbed 26 times. There were also signs of sexual assault. However, given China's limited forensic capabilities in the 1980s, investigators couldn't identify any suspects. The police were stunned by the brutality, and the community was gripped by fear. After 6 years of silence, the second murder occurred on July 27, 1994. A 19-year-old female employee of the Bain Power Supply Bureau, Miss Su, was found dead in her workplace dormitory. Mirroring the first crime, she was decapitated, nude, and had 36 stab wounds, along with evidence of sexual assault. Just as the first crime was fading from memory, an identical murder sparked intense public debate about whether this was the same killer or a copycat. The police remained helpless. 4 years later, in 1998, China was plunged into unprecedented terror when the killer struck 4 times in rapid succession. All victims were female Bayan resident, and shockingly, one was an 8-year-old girl. The victims were January 16th, Miss Yang, age 29, January 19th, Miss Deng, age 27, July 30th, an 8-year-old girl, November 30th, Kun Yang, age 16. All victims showed signs of sexual assault, were found naked, and died from multiple stab wounds. Except for the young girl, all were decapitated. Some victims had body parts severed or severely mutilated, and several officers who witnessed the crime scenes required psychiatric treatment. The killer was growing bolder, and despite having DNA evidence, the police still couldn't identify a suspect. Public anxiety intensified with each passing day. The murders continued. On November 20, 2000, Miss Luo, a 28-year-old textile factory worker, was killed. On May 22, 2001, Miss Zhang, a 28-year-old health center employee, became the next victim. On February 9, 2002, 25-year-old Miss Zhou was found dead in a hotel. Except for the hotel victim, all were discovered in their homes, killed in the same signature style. During these 14 years of terror, numerous rumors circulated. Some claimed the killer only targeted young women in red clothing or stalked pre-selected victims at night. The fear was so pervasive that many women in their 20s avoided going out even during daylight hours. As the case dragged on, investigators refined their techniques. Criminal profilers suggested the killer was born between 1964 and 1971, stood between 5 foot 6 inches to 5 foot 9 inches tall, and likely suffered from extreme misogyny, sexual dysfunction, or depression. However, these profiles proved insufficient to identify the perpetrator, and the case remained unsolved until 2016. Facing mounting public pressure over the increasingly brazen murders and inadequate investigation, Chinese authorities launched an unprecedented DNA dragnet. They began testing every male resident in Bayan City, approximately 850,000 men out of the city's 1.7 million population. When this yielded no matches, they expanded to testing unregistered residents. The breakthrough came when a male relative was arrested for an unrelated minor crime, and his DNA partially matched the killer's profile. Police then tested all his relatives, leading to Gao Chenyang's arrest in August 2016. His uncle's arrest had ultimately led to his capture. At the time of his arrest, Gao was a 52-year-old who led a seemingly ordinary life. After failing to achieve his childhood dream of becoming a pilot, he worked various jobs and lived alone for many years. He later ran a school shop and lived with his family, maintaining a good reputation and even sending his two sons to prestigious universities. Although he remained in Bayan since his first crime in 1988, his household registration in Lanzhou helped him evade detection. When confronted with matching DNA evidence, he confessed to not just the 9 Bayan murders, but 2 additional killings in Baotao, bringing the total to 11 victims. Police classified him as a psychopath with multiple personality disorder. The case finally concluded 28 years after it began, when Gao Chenyang was sentenced to death and executed by lethal injection on January 3, 2019. Thank you for watching.